Okay, well, let's go ahead and kick it off. I know there'll be some others joining us throughout the hour, but we don't want to lose any time. We have two really special guests with us today, Jonathan Anguelov from Aircall and Stan Massueras from the Intercom side. We're really fortunate that these two leaders are going to share some insights with us about this new face of human support. So before we get started with the lively fireside chat, I'd love to share the agenda and go through a few quick housekeeping items. So we'll welcome everyone, discuss how the event will work. I'll frame up the conversation to share what we've been thinking about on the Intercom and Aircall teams about what's changed over this last year that I think was very unpredictable for everyone around the world. And then we'll transition to meet our two incredible hosts and get into the discussion. At the end, we'll leave a few minutes for Q&A. So as I mentioned, please put some questions in the chat so that we can make sure to make this conversation relevant. So just to let you know who's speaking to you, I'm your host or moderator today. I work at Intercom leading our app partnerships, working closely with teams like Aircall and over 250 of our other app and integration partners that help extend kind of the value of Intercom's platform and really focus on just connecting into our customers' tech stack so that your teams can be more efficient and scale your operations. So I'm happy to be here, and it's wonderful to meet everyone through the chat interface. So as I mentioned, first things first, please say hello, introduce yourself. We want to keep this, even though it is a broadcast, we want to learn about you as much as we can and keep this a lively discussion. As you're putting your questions in, we'll try to answer them at the end of the conversation. Any that we miss, we'll be more than happy to follow up afterwards to make sure that we can share as many strategies and tips as possible. Unfortunately, just due to the size of the event, the attendees will be muted. So we appreciate you leveraging chat to contribute. And then last thing, we're recording this event and we will be able to share this afterwards so that you can rewatch it and share it with other members of your team. So let's get started and share, why are we even here? So the last year was completely unpredictable. No one imagined we'd have a global pandemic. And I just hope that everyone on the call today has been able to stay healthy throughout this challenging year. And at the same time, we are obviously joining this call because we are working to keep our businesses running and thriving. And with these changes a lot has shifted in the way we work. The pandemic really accelerated the need for all of our businesses to move online and fully online. So maybe you were doing some things on the internet in the past, but everything shifted with, in many industries, the entire workforce working remotely. And then, of course, the challenges associated with that led to some changes in how you were achieving those results. So perhaps you had budgets that were slashed or your team size changed, and that shift was pretty dramatic, and it was felt kind of across the globe. With that shift, for support teams in particular, led to some really unique challenges and scenarios. With all the change and uncertainty, we at the Intercom team and Aircall as well, and of course all of our customers, felt some dramatic increases in their customers reaching out to understand what was different or with changing needs on their ends. So that increase in support volume was something that was not predicted, and we had to navigate on our own as well as to support our customers. So we've learned a lot over the last year about how to evolve your strategy when you see dramatic spikes, what you can do when you have to navigate those scenarios where you may have longer wait times. And so it's a real special opportunity with Stan and Jonathan to dig into, what has changed in the support area with those surges, as well as the last bit of how that has actually led to some good opportunities to think about your scaling strategies, what you can do to improve the efficiency and retain your loyal customers. And from our side, something that really became crystal clear, it's always been top of mind, but it was definitely reinforced over the last year or so, is that retention is really, really important to your business health, and your customers just really do need to come first. But fortunately, with this whole change in how we work, there have been some new opportunities for technology and teams to evolve as well. And there's some lessons that we've learned about what you can do to kind of adapt that experience that we'll look forward to sharing. So as we look for a good chat today, I'll give you a preview of what our hosts will be discussing. As you might imagine, definitely looking forward to sharing, what has changed in support across 2020. What are those new support tactics that our teams and our customers are utilizing, and how might they actually help your teams and your business evolve as well, so that you can continue to grow throughout these unpredictable times? Jonathan and Stan will share their insights as to what the new normal will look like. We're seeing some trends on our end, and I think there's some interesting changes that will persist even after we go back, hopefully, to office environments later this year. And then last but not least, a lot of you sent in questions throughout the registration process to learn, what are we focusing on at Intercom and Aircall? Where are we making investments on our teams? And what are we thinking about for 2021? So lots of big topics to dig into. And if there's anything else that you want us to cover, again, please feel free to add it to the chat and we'll do our best. So that's all from me. I know we're all here to see Jonathan and Stan. So let me pass it over to them to introduce themselves and kick off this discussion. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Tara.
Thanks, Tara. Jonathan, great to see you. How are you today?
Very good. Always great to see you, Stan. I love doing that things with you.
Yeah, it's quite late for you. Thanks for doing some overtime. Last time we spoke, Jonathan, was actually, I think it was just literally like week 1 or week 2 of the pandemic when we were debriefing things. The two of us, we were planning to participate to this French podcast called Growth Maker, where I think Aircall plus Intercom shared some of the expertise of how we were going to tackle this journey. So it's great to see you, almost like 11 months later, and also great to see tremendous success that you had on the way. But before we get started, could you please introduce yourself to the audience? I would love, if you could share a little bit about yourself and especially your journey, from leaving university to founding Aircall and turning a little startup created in Paris into this phenomenon that is Aircall.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Stan. It's always a pleasure to do this kind of talks with you, especially you have been following Aircall almost from day one. And it's good to see that we keep that thing together. So big pleasure. And I'm a big fan of Intercom. So always happy to do this kind of thing. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. So yeah, I'm Jonathan. I'm one of the co-founders of Aircall. Prior to Aircall, I used to be a stockbroker in London and in Paris. Didn't work so long outside from being an entrepreneur because I founded Aircall when I was 26, so pretty fast after my studies. We initially started Aircall a bit more than 6 years ago with my co-founders. Now in Paris, this all started in Paris. Now we are close to 400 people between Paris, New York, Sydney, London, and Madrid. Now we're opening soon. So quite a lot of people after six and a half years. Our business model, for the one that do not know, is that we are a cloud-based phone system and call center software that integrates and can be set up in minutes anywhere in the world and can integrate with every tool that companies are already using. We've been one of the first companies to do that back in the days, 6-7 years ago. And now it's becoming like a must-have to have your phone system that is connected to your CRM or to your help desk in case of a customer support department. Growth has been tremendous for us for the past years, but even more this year as the pandemic hit quite a lot of companies, and we've been pushed, and I say we, I talk about the world, we've been pushed to digitalization and to adapt our our communication tools, and it helped us also keep growing over 2020 despite these very difficult days for the world. And that's it about me.
Thanks, Jonathan. Brief introduction about myself. So my name is Massueras. I've got two different roles at Intercom. The first one is that I'm looking after the partnership team. And the second role is I'm in charge of European sales. I joined Intercom about 4 years ago, and prior to Intercom, I started my career into very, very old school, traditional B2B companies such as Xerox and Hewlett-Packard, before moving into real internet companies in 2008 when I joined Facebook and then Twitter. And this is what kind of pushed my way all the way up to another communication company called Intercom. And if you're not really familiar with what we do, but we're similar to Aircall, we're also another communication platform. We focus heavily on live chat, and Intercom is a way for you to be able to communicate at scale with your customers, no matter where they are. If it's through email, through social, or through in-app messages within your product, we've got a solution that will help you to grow your business at scale and continue to accelerate your growth. So stop with the introduction, Jonathan. So if you look into latest trends that were measured by multiple surveys, but 47% of support team mentions that demand in terms of number of queries skyrocketed by plus 51% in terms of what used to be the average pre-COVID. If you look as well, another interesting data point that I found astonishing is that if you look in terms of the increase of response time, for most companies, it has been increasing by plus 70%. And then if you look at the impact as well on customer satisfaction, also based on surveys that we've been collecting prior to this event, we also identified that CSAT declined in average for most companies by 28%. So first, it would be great to understand a bit more about not talking about your customers, but first what about Aircall? So how were you impacted by the crisis, especially where you were really like at the center of the storm, building a tool that helped companies to cope during global major crisis?
So there is two aspects, but yeah, we are a tool for communication. So definitely we got really surprised by the number of companies that were in a need of digitalizing right now, the next day, so switching from classic phone systems on their desk to they got to go to the cloud, they will be working from home and so on. So a lot of new customer came and very different industries. We used to have quite a lot of kind of tech companies, marketplaces, e-commerce, etc., SaaS products and so on. And we had a kind of new customers with classic needs. Could be a marketing agency, could be any type of company that actually has a phone system need, and they digitize quite fast. So that was the good part. The bad part was that, of course, we had also some companies, customers of ours that are in the travel industry, and all those in general were leisure and so on that got hit very bad. So we had also a big contraction of customers. But honestly, this was more or less offset by the growth of our new type of customer, and also our current customer that also grew during that time because they used to have the sales department on Airco and the customer support department, and they added then the marketing and all the other departments. So it was okay, more or less. And what was interesting is more inside Airco, how we had to organize and reorganize even ourselves. We are tech. We are used to work with cloud communication. We are used to work even at distance. It's okay. We have offices in New York, Paris, Sydney. So we are used to that, but we had to adapt. And that was the interesting part, is that we had to redo all our processes, and I will discuss about it later, but that was quite a challenging time for us. So I can imagine for a bit more classical companies how tough it must have been when you start from scratch, basically.
Yeah, we've noticed very similar trends. So yeah, we had a lot of customers that were negatively impacted.
Yeah,
customers, in terms of like travel expense, management, also customers in the travel industry. It has been, interesting to see also how they recover. I think we've got one customer in common that started really poorly, where they saw almost literally like daily revenue dropping by 98% overnight, really recovering and actually finishing the year really strongly, despite COVID still being a problem, but simply by changing their strategy. Also, one thing that I personally loved seeing was if you look at trends that were already happening, such as people starting to order food a lot more at home, also ordering groceries. We could see that multiple trends really accelerating, and literally like in the length of 10 months, almost took multiple years of acceleration. We have multiple customers in the food delivery industry, and they went from ordering food on Friday night was almost like a luxury. Now it's a commodity. Now it's it's a part of the day-to-day of million and million of people, and we could see the vote and the delivery really exploding during the pandemic.
Which is what happened basically. That's why there is a big correlation between the number of customer support tickets that exploded, and you mentioned it, and at the same time the CSAT decreasing because no one was really ready to absorb that big amount of new business coming in from one day to the other, and that's how the macro effect was interesting to look at, and there is several others.
And in terms of specific vertical, have you noticed any vertical really skyrocketing? As Winston Churchill said multiple times, never waste a good crisis. Have you seen any specific industry really skyrocketing during the pandemic?
Definitely. What happened basically is the e-commerce exploded. It's crazy because that time of our lives are crazy because the world is changing and changed, and I couldn't believe it myself. And from one day to the other, every single person in the world started to order online, where people used to not everyone used to order online. It was maybe for a specific type of people, and now e-commerce just exploded, and for the past months, and so mechanically more customer support, and also those new type of customers. It's interesting because I spoke with one of our customers recently that said the crazy thing about that crisis is that we got a new type of customers that we used to not have. And the bad thing about that's good to have those new customers, but the bad thing is that those people are not used to order so much online, so they're very stressed. They ask a lot of questions. They want to have a call center so they can call in when they have a problem. If it's late, they're worried that they got scammed. So there is this new typology of customers that is very important to tackle for companies. And I don't know if some of the people that are here today are in that segment. It is extremely important to reassure this kind of customer and have this unique chance to do it, because they're a new type of customer coming in for free almost, and it's the right time to make them loyal to you, to your brand, and make sure that when all this ends, this new type of customers stay online with you. And so for that, you got to make sure you create something adapted to this kind of customer, and put more resources toward customer support, which is our topic today.
Yeah, super interesting. And also, because Aircall and Intercom being in the SaaS industry, I think it has been also really interesting to see collaboration software also skyrocketing. Also anything linked to one-to-many communication, such as Hopin, the platform that we're using for this webinar. It has been also crazy to see them onboarding as an early stage customer and literally going from MVP to becoming global phenomenon in 30 days, and onboarding hundreds of thousands of new customers. interesting food for thought here.
And it's not only e-commerce. I took e-commerce as an example because it's in the B2C space and people know it, but SaaS product was the same. We got good numbers because we are communication too, but most of SaaS really got an interesting type of new customer. And I'm sure Intercom it's the same because just people needed to go digital. They need to adapt to that new world that goes online. So it's a unique opportunity for each entrepreneur, each manager, director in a company, no matter which job you are in, especially if you're in the customer-facing job. But there is this unique chance to go all in on the customer experience and create this happiness towards the branding and the product.
Perfect. So now I'd love to talk specifically about Aircall and specifically about your support team, or we can talk as well about your CSM team. But how did you adapt to this radical change? I still remember first interaction at the start of the year. You mentioned you were like, Stan, I don't know where to start. We've got like so many customer demand, and it was also a couple of weeks before you announced your big round. So yeah, it was a busy start of the year for Aircall. I'd love if you could walk us through what happened, especially during the first 90 days of the pandemic.
Yeah, so that was a huge stress. I remember that conversation, and I was in my raising, my Series C round, and at the same time making sure our customers are happy, make sure the sales are able to close everything that comes in. So it was kind of crazy. The first thing we said is that, okay, we need to be super reactive, but also proactive during those time. Luckily, we are users of Intercom, so we kept this very reactive thing on. We have a chat. You can contact us anytime, 24/7 on Airco, no matter if you're a customer, if you are a prospect, if you are anyone, you can contact us very fast. And so we made sure to always have someone on our chat. Of course, we had more requests than usual. So a bit what you said before, CSAT decreased for us too, because we had a team. The team was there. And from one day to the other, everything surged. So it's hard to adapt. So we had very quickly to hire new people, reorganize a little bit also the processes, and I'll go back to that. But just for the record, so that the audience understands, Airco, we hired over 150 people only in 2020. Of course, not in customer support only, but in several different jobs. And so it was a big stress at that moment. And what we wanted to make sure is that we want to keep being a tool that is different also by the way we treat our customer and the customer experience. So we moved from being quite reactive as a customer support department and the classic customer support department, which I don't like, which is I add people when I need people because I have X number of tickets, so I need X number of people. And I don't like that way. So we kind of switched a little bit the way we are organized to more, okay, let's be proactive. So we have a dedicated team that is the proactive team of customer support at Airco that are just in charge. They don't take any inbound requests. They do outbound requests. The same way you have an inbound team in your sales department, you have an outbound team as well. So we did the same. We kind of try to copy it to a customer support department, which means that this team, thanks to good data points, thanks to monitoring our customer data, are able to contact the customer at the right time before he gets the problem, or when the problem occurs, before the problem becomes bigger into the company. And so I can highly advise you to do that. I can only highly advise you to do that as companies if you want to drive customer happiness in general, because having a call from a customer support department when you got a problem on a product is just so delightful. And so we tried to really do that in order to keep our customer experience at very high level. even though unfortunately waiting time could get a little longer during this time for inbound when you were sending a inbound question, but that was one of the main things. Then the second thing is our point was, okay, how with limited resources, because you cannot hire so fast, and we want to keep this great and high level customer experience, how to do it with a number of people that are limited. First, do not do so much ticketing. We prefer chat. We always try to be super chat friendly, even though some requests are not adapted to chat. When, let's say, there is a bug or when it's a complex thing, whatever, with monitoring a problem of network, which is typical, the typical type of problem you can have with cloud-based communication. And so we were able to detect that, but so it needs to create a ticket in that case. But we even prefer to create a ticket for customers from time. So taking the inbound request on the chat, and the agent was then creating the ticket for the level 2 support. So always try to do the extra mile for your customer. And that's what we wanted to do during those time, is to move from usually the customer support department, customer in general are considered, unfortunately, as a cost center. And I don't see it as a cost center. I really see it as a value center where you can make a lot of money. So we really try to heavily invest in making sure that we bring something different to our customer, and this decreased our churn. And it allowed us also to reassure our customers that we are the right tool for them, and so on, and even push the new type of features we would have, and so on, through our customer support department. Say, you speak with someone on the phone, hey, the customer support will fix your problem, plus we'll tell you, hey, have you seen that? Have you ever tried that feature, etc., etc. So we kind of rebalanced a little bit the way the customer support department was working, from being just fixing problem to something to a role where is not only they're not only fixing problem, they're actually pushing adoption and pushing and making sure there is a happiness about it. Because at the end of the day, as a cloud-based tool software, no matter what you're doing, or even if you're a food delivery company, your only human interactions usually are with the sales. Okay, cool, you spoke with them, that's great. But once you don't speak with the sales and you're a customer, it's only with the customer support department. So a bad support department will hit you so badly that you cannot imagine. And I remember in my marketing at school, marketing classes, where we are saying that an unhappy customer will talk to 10 other people, while a happy customer will just mention it to 3. And that's so real. And even more over internet, where people put reviews, and an unhappy customer could tell it to 101 just for a customer service problem. Sorry, my answer was long, Stan.
No, perfect. And so, John, you mentioned a crazy number. So you mentioned that in the middle of the pandemic, you almost hired, was it 150 people?
150.
So hiring 150 people when everybody's sitting in the same office is a challenge. So, Love, if you could tell me, how do you manage to achieve this incredible result while all being remote, from a training, onboarding, enablement point of view?
Yeah, for all those years, let's say it happened very easily, I have to say, because all those years Aircall was always very data driven and very KPI. So each job at Aircall has a specific KPI. So luckily, when you start your work, you're a KPI, so high level, you know where you have to go. Okay, that's the easy part. What we invested a lot, and we did it previous to the pandemic, was onboarding. Onboarding was always core to Aircall. We even have a sales academy at Aircall. We call it the Sales Academy, but at the end of the day, now it's just the Aircall Academy, where every single person that joins Aircall gets a 2 weeks courses all about Aircall, specificities on your job, etc. And so the investments in onboarding your team is the most important. And when I say onboarding, very, very important. it's not the manager that should onboard the people. The big mistake that several companies would do, and we did it at Aircall by the time when we were 50 people. I remember the first people were onboarded by me. And so when I had a new guy, I was spending my days with him, and that was terrible. So you need to create a specific team, a training, or whatever, how you call it, that are able to onboard people like, with a real process. And no matter if you're 20 people or 30 or 500, is the same. Having those dedicated resources will make, especially in a high, of course, in a high velocity and a high hyper growth, this will allow you as a manager, focus on what matters and not on onboarding people, which matters, but you have people that do that because it's all about process. You don't need to be there in the first weeks, first 1-2 weeks. It's important you give the big directions and so on. And I think part of the success of onboarding 150 people entirely remotely during that period was that investment in onboarding those people and making sure that they have the right info at the right place. So heavily invest also in resources. Where can you find the resource? So we have like a kind of a data warehouse where you can go and check any job description, who does what, everything about the company, but plus everything about the processes into the company, about each job, product management, solution engineering, etc. And that helps you a lot to just, first you have to hire autonomous people, which is great, I think, in general in a company. Plus it helps them have a clear vision of what they need to accomplish and who does what in the company.
Yes, I think that's totally right. What I personally noticed is that especially companies that relied on tribal knowledge, like, oh, if you got a pricing question, ask John. If you have, a technical question, ask Stan.
That's terrible.
So by not documenting, all your processes and not having, written, communication super clear internally, companies really struggle.
Yeah.
On our side, we haven't changed our hiring plan pre-COVID. So we kept, hiring, and we thought that we were doing really well because we had this enablement team for support and sales. So it was like well-oiled machine, and we're like, oh yeah, we're just going to switch, to remote completely. But what we discovered is that our process that was purely tailored for being, in the office all together in a training room, being able to sit next to your peer was not working, while you do it on Zoom or Google Hangout, etc. So we had to, instead of tweaking a little bit our processes to adapt, full kind of remote, we had to rethink completely from the ground up on how do we onboard, how we are going to onboard people. And we could see it as well. I think one trend, especially in the support and in the sales industry, usually, when you onboard someone, you can decide, well, Jonathan is going to have a 3 months ramp period. So we're going to give him only 66% of what should be his target for the quarter or for the month. We can see that in the entire trend that these numbers, actually, need to increase when you onboard people remotely. And we felt it as well at Intercom. Some things that we also noticed that maybe 3 months, 4 months after the start of the pandemic was it was really hard to get new hire to be fully bought in about the Intercom vision. It's great when before COVID, when you join Intercom, you would sit in a room with one of our co-founders telling you, the vision of Intercom and the genesis, how they started and the full story, and like it's almost like the entire journey with the drama, and really get you fully bought in. Being able to interact face to face with one of the co-founders, being able to do it, remotely was not as impactful. So again, we had to identify new ways, to get people super excited and really, to embody completely our the values of Intercom. So that was also one of the challenges that we faced. Did you also notice anything similar between some of the organization at Intercom at Aircall?
Yeah, of course. In general, we knew that we need to hire a lot of people. So and that's by having a big training department and making sure that onboarding new people is purely process related, helped us really scale during that period. And without that, we would have failed. We would have had a high number of churn of people, attrition. Sorry, I was looking for the word, and we didn't have actually. And so investing in that is probably one of the most important things you can do. Embrace vision, of course. I used to do it, and what you mentioned, I used to do it, having the new hires. I was taking them in batches of 5-10 people every week. But I kept doing that even during the pandemic to make sure that we still give them that time, so that we are small, we are 400. Maybe when we are 10,000, I won't do it anymore. But I think it's important, as our ambitions our ambition is very, very big, to always give that personalized moment to each person that joins Aircall, because I'm a strong believer that a company doesn't succeed because of their founders or the leadership team. It's because of every single individual that contributes. So I want to treat every single individual like a unique person that has the ability to make us climb this amazing mountain that I want to climb with them, actually.
Amazing. During my time at Facebook, so when I joined was in early 2009, and so at the time you had 1 hour with the chief product officer, a gentleman called Chris Cox, and it was literally like 60 minutes where you leave the room and you'd be like, give me a phone, I want to sell some Facebook ads. You were like so pumped up, but having this kind of passion and the motivation from the get-go, this is super, super important. So yeah, I encourage you to try to continue to do it as long as possible. Let's switch gears. So we've been talking about some of the challenges and also some of the reward for companies who really embraced switching to a more kind of real-time way of communicating with our customers during the pandemic. So we're going to be talking about specific tactics. So what we've noticed, especially this year, was simply having the best product and even having this product cheaper than your competitors was not good enough. And this is, why customer support team played a crucial role by providing real-time, amazing customer experience. So I would love if you could, Jonathan, if you could share some of the tactics that you've witnessed, maybe from what your team is doing, but also what you've witnessed from some of your customers.
So a huge investment was done during that period to self-serve as much as possible, because big volume, so you want to do a big self-serve. Of course, I mentioned it before, proactive support. So making sure that your team is able to call in before problems occurs, or at the moment the problem occurs, and in general integrating. And so the business of Aircall has always been, okay, yeah, we provide a phone system, cloud-based communication, that's great. What we always provided as the most important thing is the integration to all the tools that the companies are using. And so more than ever, we tried to push that during that period, calling, sending emails to our customers saying, hey, part of your team is connected to whatever. It could be Intercom, could be any other tool, and make sure that everyone is connected to the right integration so that it gives you value for your customers. So that was like, let's say, the big picture. If we go into the detail, for instance, something that I love that we implemented is, we noticed that some of our customers, sometimes they have several numbers, and they don't pick up some of the calls on some numbers. Why? You don't know. They haven't put the right users behind. The users are off while they should be on, whatever. And in that case, we would see an alert. So we would call in and say, hey, we've noticed that your customer, this number doesn't pick up. Is that normal? Do you need help to configure the number or put the right team behind the right number? And so in general, it's small things, but it gives a lot of hope to the people you work with. Another small thing we did is as we are a communication tool, we said, okay, the first thing, most important, is you got to have your account manager number directly into your directory in Aircall. And so that's great. So let's say if you sell a CRM, in your CRM, you should have your account manager somewhere so that you can contact them easily. So, it's just small things, but that do make the difference in case of a problem. And again, the integration thing, we've noticed several integrations that were not set up the right way, or that were not using all the features that you could have in an Aircall integration with whatever Salesforce, Intercom, no matter which one. And finally, by pushing them with the problems they have and saying, hey, we've noticed that, they were extremely happy. So that was a very good thing about, in general, the proactiveness we put in place. Then the self-service was something, our product was always very self-service, but we tried to go even further, because in a product like Aircall, you have to do portabilities, so phone number portability. So you have, let's say you move from one provider to the other, you want to bring your phone number to Aircall. We try to automate that as much as possible, and trying to reduce as much as possible the number of requests, because it's technical requests. So self-serve means often a lot of tech involved, but that's good, because you create also a barrier to entry in your product, and it helps you. And the last piece probably was around bots and automation. And again, here we used very much Intercom to qualify and so on, where you ask the right questions, and you create a tree for the questions of your customers into a chat, and it allows you to either give the customer the right direction into the Q&A part of the website. Either, you request to speak to an agent, but at least you're qualified and the agent knows what's your problem. And so we quite put a lot of investment in bots in general, and live chat, and to make sure that we provide a human support, yes, but improved thanks to artificial intelligence.
Amazing. So to summarize, so you started to leverage automation in order to provide proactive support, also to help your customer to self-serve in order to find themselves, the question before reaching out to your team. And the time that you save, actually your time that you're saving, you use it to spend more time speaking human to human and go deeper
exactly.
with your customer.
And something it's good that you mentioned the human thing. Let's not forget the human thing. So talking to your customer. So investing in bots, AI, and so on, it's okay. That's fine, but up to a limit. It's important to keep in reality and feel the customer that, hey, you're not avoiding them. You are actually making their life easier, and their life easier means giving them the answer they need when they need it as fast as possible. So if it's faster to get the answer thanks to a bot, and that sends you to the right page on the website with the answer, but if it's with a human, then it needs to be a human. So avoid that. I've got some very bad experience, and I got one this morning again with customer service department that have no idea what they're doing, and they avoid talking to you. They just want to make you send emails or whatever and get an answer 24 hours later.
It's a great point. You keep going deeper in terms of putting a human with a human, and using personalization as a weapon, to make sure that you create this long-term loyalty between you and your customer. We've been also experimenting this year by going all in on automation, but trying to find the right balance. But similar to you, so we're focusing on trying to identify a problem before it occurs and try to push the right message at the right time in the right context. So, for example, if knowing that if you have a question regarding your latest invoice, being able to trigger an in-app message when someone spends more than 90 seconds within the feature, trying to identify what is going to be my next invoice from Intercom, being able to provide the information up front. Secondly, we started to use automation heavily with a tool called Resolution Bot, where this solution, also something that Jonathan, your team is using heavily, but the tools that really help you to understand if someone asks you a question, where can I find how much I'm going to pay for my next invoice? This question is going to be asked in 5 different types of formats. Resolution bot will help you to identify that this is actually linked to invoicing query and being able to trigger the answer before the customer actually reach out to your team. But what we've done in terms of going deeper with personalization, especially toward the end of the year, and also especially with companies who needed it the most, being able to offer sometimes to connect with them to see how we can help. Also at the end of the year with some of our best customers, instead of simply sending an Amazon voucher, trying to be a little bit more personal with the corporate gift that we wanted to send them. So this really helped us to cope with large volume, but also to not neglect the personal element from growing a business. Thanks, Jonathan. So maybe we can. So maybe I've got one last question. So at the start of the year, you raised a large round. So now you've got a pocket full in order to invest heavily. But thinking about 2021, where are you planning to invest? Could be in terms of on the people side, could be in terms of tools, could be in terms of training, it could be in terms of processes. I'd love to hear what are part of some of your plans.
Yeah. So we raised in the middle of the pandemic. Actually, we announced it, I think, in May, but we closed it in April. So at the worst time ever of the world, probably we raised. Luckily, we could raise in good conditions. So as I said, last year we recruited about 150 people in 2020. 2021 we are planning to add 250 people to our team. So again, quite a huge growth in number of people. Of course, we are international, so Airco revenue is split between a bit more than 30% in the US, then 15% in France, and the rest a bit less than 10% UK, Germany, Spain as main markets in Europe, plus Sydney, Australia, which accounts for about 7% of our revenue, and the rest is split around the world. So keep our internationalization, with heavy investments towards either opening offices, either just growing in specific markets, in our core market, which are the one I mentioned. Of course, invest a lot in our tech. For the record, we were 35 tech end of 2019. We are 150 tech now at Airco, and we are expecting to be about 300 to have about 300 tech people by end of 2021. So big investment. We have a huge roadmap ahead of us with very, very big ambitions. We want to revolutionize the way a phone system is being used in the world and a call center software in general, how to change and make it simpler and better and more integrated. So, and by integration, I mean, of course, we're going to continue creating and investing with our integration partners. So Airco today has about 60 different tools that we integrate with, from CRMs to help desks to AI tools, etc., and we will continue that strategy. We are not building them all. Some companies are calling us and build them for us. We actually build about 10. The 40, 50 others were built by other softwares. And so continue towards that ecosystem of the marketplace that we built at Airco, which is a bit like Intercom has, creating an ecosystem of tools that integrates to your product to bring more value to the customer. And that's always has been our first and main driver at Airco, is how can we bring value to our customer. And I think as entrepreneurs, managers, and so on, that's the only thing you have to think of before thinking about the money and so on, is, do I bring the value, and what can I do to bring more value? Sometimes you don't have to do it. You can do it through an integration or whatever, but always bring the value. That's what will differentiate you from your customer, and that's where our investments will go in the next couple of months.
Incredible. Huge congratulations, Jonathan. I know it hasn't been easy, but yeah, you made it.
It's never easy.
Really
I think for no one, it's never easy.
But for customers of Intercom participating to this event, so if you have the ambition to be fully omnichannel, and if you want to be able to communicate with your customers directly, using a cloud phone solution directly from the live chat window, go in the App Store and check an application called Aircall now, and you won't regret it. And if you have any problem, contact Jonathan, and
you're such a great sales.
So before we close, Jonathan, so we've got a couple of live questions that were asked during the live chat during our exchange, but also we've got a couple of questions that were sent in advance when people enroll for this event. So the first one, question coming from Stefan regarding onboarding, so especially how you onboard people at Aircall, but with respect to onboarding, what metrics do you have in place to gauge effectiveness of the onboarding? Do you have any KPIs that you use, any specific processes that you would recommend to people attending to this event?
So in case of the customer service department here, or in general?
Yeah, I think it's not mentioned, so maybe we can make it kind of
general. As I said, we are very KPI driven. So onboarding, let's say, we industrialized it. So the logic is that if someone is coming at its onboarding sessions every day regularly, everyone will have the same info more or less. So they have the knowledge. And then if it's successful, how we measured in case of sales, I will take the example of sales or even customer support because it's the two I have in mind, is how fast they're ramped up. So in a sales department, usually, like before creating this big onboarding, a new sales was having a 6 months ramp-up period. So during the first 6 months, basically, he had a smaller quota than he would have. 6 months, it's huge. And so now we move to a less than 2 months ramp-up period to go to full quota. And how we measure it is, of course, we saw that an increase of achievement of the targets during the first months. And so we thought, okay, now people are onboarded faster. They follow the process. They're better. And so we are able to shorten the ramp-up period of your people. And shortening the ramp-up period of your people increases the efficiency. Mechanically, it's mechanical. It increases efficiency of your people, and so if it increases efficiency of your people, it increases payback. It increases several other metrics, and you have a better CAC as well, cost of acquisition, because it costs you less to get new customer or to onboard new customer. And for a customer service department, it was a little bit the same. They had a number of tickets to handle. They were taking time to be autonomous and so on. And with a good onboarding and good shadowing and so on, we noticed that now they're up to speed very fast. So it's all about the KPIs you have in-house to use them to make sure that it goes faster. And the ultimate goal of an onboarding is just to ramp up faster. Of course, avoid attrition, but ramp up faster. And so make sure that they achieve their targets month over month, even week over week, and so it gives you. Normally, it should give you the right KPIs to follow.
On our side, so we went from specifically around salespeople, could be an SDR, like account executive, relationship manager, or customer success manager. So we went from 6 months ramp, similar to you, to actually only 3 months. But so first month, you don't have any target. Second month, you only get 66% of a normal target, and then on the third month, you move into your full target. One question mark that we have is that we noticed that especially for reps who onboarded remotely, it has been tough, for them to hit that quota. So we're thinking about if it still makes sense for us to continue to do it, or if we need to change how we onboard people. There's been we struggle a little bit about that, but also this year we decided to go all in with with a sales methodology called command of the message, which also really helped us to kind of standardize, like every single step of the customer journey to really know how we're performing in terms of new business, but also how do we expand, those existing customers. This was a revelation for us. Then maybe Jonathan, last question also that came live today. So where can I see it? It is coming from Anna. Would love to know basically what would be the ratio at Aircall for one CSM per rep. So how many CSM would you match to an account executive?
So CSM, customer success, or customer support?
CSM I assume customer success manager,
Customer success.
Customer success manager.
So we don't look at number of AEs, we look at portfolio size. So our expectation is 1.7 million AR per customer success people at Aircall. And so if the question is towards customer support managers, I want to answer, it's the number of tickets that we have divided by the number of support, and usually it's about 30 tickets per day. And I say ticket, I say open chat, or a ticket is the same. 30 tickets per day per people, and it's a constant metric that we're trying to improve to be able to handle more, or to keep at a low level the number of requests. And my ultimate goal is to have, and it's a dream, of course, it will never happen, unfortunately, is have no customer support ticket, because everything was done proactively. And I think as managers that are here connected, and entrepreneurs in general, your ultimate goal for a great customer support department is have no tickets. So if you're able to do that, means that either your product is incredible, either you're so proactive that when there is a problem is fixed on the go, and that's the ultimate win. Of course, it's impossible, but if you have that perspective in mind, it will force you to go towards excellence and enhance always the customer experience into your company.
Hi, everyone.
Jonathan, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Tara, I'm going to let you close this event, but thanks, Jonathan, for your time and for the expertise that you shared with us tonight.
Thank you so much.
If you, for the audience, again, check out the Intercom App Store and check for Aircall now. Thanks, Tara. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. I think we all can agree this was a really lively and insightful discussion. So we really appreciate you both taking the time. And thank you to all of the participants who shared questions in the chat. I know we weren't able to address all of them, so we'll look to follow up after the event with the recording and a few extra notes and tips and strategies. So thank you for joining. Let's give Stan and Jonathan another round of applause, and we'll look forward to continuing to monitor all the great changes in the support industry this year, and look forward to another event soon. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye. Thank you for listening us.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.